Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning. Maybe you're listening to this tucked up in bed, or maybe it's first thing in the morning. But the first thing I want to say to you is, peace be with you. Maybe you've just come back from a walk. Now, I've been out and about walking my dog, and I've seen in people's windows rainbows. I've seen rainbows everywhere. And what's really interesting about that is that rainbows are a really important feature in Bible stories. And rainbows remind us that God is there and God has a plan for us. One of the stories that rainbows feature really highly in is the story of Noah's Ark. And the rainbow reminds Noah that God had a plan for him, and that maybe if we look at rainbows too, we can remember that God has a plan for us. I think it's a really important time for you to listen and perhaps me to read the story of Noah's Ark, because it's a really nice story. Okay. Just get my assistant to get my story up. Thank you very much, assistant. Okay, so it says, during Noah's lifetime, people were acting very wickedly. This made God very unhappy. It made him sad because people seemed to be thinking more about themselves than about God. Noah, however, was a very good man. He loved and obeyed God, and God loved Noah very much. God actually loved all the people as much as he loved Noah. But at that time, only Noah was listening to God. God told Noah to build an ark, which is a really big boat. So Noah followed God's plan and built a boat that was 1.5 times a football field long. And that's a huge boat. Noah's neighbours, they all laughed at him because there wasn't any water in the desert where Noah lived. But God told Noah that a great flood was coming. And Noah tried to warn the people to change their ways and so that they could hear God too. But they wouldn't listen and they just kept to their selfish lives. God told Noah that he had a plan for him. God asked Noah to collect 2 of the creatures of the earth and bring them to the ark. He also told the animals to find Noah. So it wasn't hard for Noah to gather them together. Pairs of each kind of animal were put safely inside the ark, and it began to rain. Noah's wife and his 3 sons and their wife were also safely on the boat. When everyone was aboard, God closed the door. Noah and his family and the animals lived on the ark for 7 days before the first raindrops even fell. Then it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Soon the earth was covered in water. After it stopped raining, the water continued to rise for 150 days. The ark eventually landed in the mountain range of Ararat during the 7th month of the flood. God sent a huge wind and the waters began to evaporate. Noah and the floating zoo had to stay in the ark for several more months while the earth slowly dried out. Finally, Noah sent out a raven out of the ark's window to look for land. The raven never returned. Noah waited another week for the water level to go down and then sent out a dove to do the same thing. The dove couldn't find a place to rest, so it returned to the ark. Another week passed and then Noah sent the dove out again. This time it came back with a special branch called an olive branch in its beak. Noah now knew that the water was low enough for a tree branch to show. And when Noah sent the dove out a week later, it didn't return. The dove had found a place to live on the dry land. Altogether, Noah and his family and the animals lived together on the ark for 1 year, 1 month and 27 days. It was time now for the creatures and Noah's family to move off the ark, and Noah and his family and the animals needed to start life over again. After everyone left the ark, Noah prayed to God to thank him for keeping them safe, and suddenly God sent a bright rainbow to fill the sky. And this was God's promise that he would never flood the earth again. It was also God's thanks to Noah for following his plan and for trusting in God. I think it's great that rainbows symbolise that God has a plan for us all, and that God had a plan for Noah too, and that Noah followed that plan, even though he perhaps was very worried and it was a difficult time for him and his family. That's a really old story from the Bible, and every time I read that story I think, how did he keep all of those animals together? How did he stop the cat from chasing the mouse or the tiny ant from being eaten? But it's one of the mysteries of the Bible. Something that you might like to do to go with your rainbows is to draw a lovely dove. Can you see how I've placed my hand to make the dove and its wings and drawn round it? And then I replace my hands to do the second part of the wings. And what's really important about doves is they're a symbol of hope and peace for many Christians. And it also reminds me that it was Noah's reward for following God's great plan. It would be really great if you could draw your own dove and put it maybe next to your rainbow as a symbol for Christians that peace and hope is with us too.